was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Thank you everyone for staying with us here on Global Television. This is Global Morning, coming to you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Wiyag Mofwegbe. Our conversations continue here this morning on the show. The warning, some people now call it the Riot Act, that President Bola Tinubu read to ministers and other aides on Wednesday, just 2 days ago, is still a huge talking point across this country today, looking at the imports of that message and the highlights of the event itself. However, the focus is essentially on the implication of the warning that he did sound to all of those who will play different roles, critical roles across board in his government. I mean, when he told them, look, we are going to have time to always take a look again and again at our performance. We will have to do assessments every other time. However, for those who will bring value, for those who will make impact, for those who understand while they were even engaged in the first instance and then get to deliver, all right, accordingly, they have nothing to fear. However, for those who will not show capacity, competence, skill, experience, track record in the discharge of their duty, of course, they will have to leave us. That's what the president says. And now the question is, how does that compare with former President Muhammadu Buhari? Many people's assessments didn't have an eye out on those he had appointed, especially with regards to the assignments that he had given them. I mean, this appears to be, by some analysis, a flip, like a reversal, all right, like a direct opposite of what we had seen under former President Muhammadu Buhari. It will appear President Bola Tinubu, amongst other things, is telling his ministers and other aides that, look, while on the one hand I've trusted you enough to serve in this government, I'm also not going to bed believing all the way or becoming nonchalant or, if you like, oblivious of the fact that I've got a role to play, I've got a job to do, overseeing you from time to time. All right, but then it also means, like the president said, the buck stops on his desk. But away from that, one would have thought after President Tinubu and the leadership of the PDP had met with Governor Fubara of Rivers State alongside his immediate predecessor, who happens to be his benefactor as well, Nyesom Wike, that the feud between both had died. But in the last couple of days, we have heard and we're seeing Nyesom Wike, now Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, still referencing that incident and still speaking along the lines of that incident. Recall that there had been a fire outbreak at the State House of Assembly, that's in Rivers, and then the next thing that followed was talk about impeachment of Governor Fubara. Now the minister is saying in the news this morning that, look, I'm not interested in taking part in what's happening in Rivers State in terms of governance, in terms of becoming overbearing on the governor, or in terms of becoming a godfather or something. All right, the FCT minister portfolio that have been assigned by President Bola Tinubu is enough for me. But it's natural that people would want to find a way to match the words of Nyesom Wike with his actions, especially in a country where it has virtually become a tradition to see immediate past governor starting a fight at some point with their successors. However, the understanding of many people across this country today is that the fight between the governor of Rivers State as it stands today and his immediate predecessor, Nyesom Wike, is starting far too early compared to the ones we are seeing in places like Edo or Anambra, or even now as we are having in Ondo State, even though that of Ondo State is not about a governor and his predecessor, but instead is between a governor and his deputy. But again, these are all issues around politics. What does it mean for the state that these gentlemen govern? What implications does it hold for these states? Because they say when two elephants fight, the grass does suffer. We'd like to take a look at the papers for you this morning, so we go on a quick break. When we return, we will bring you national dailies on the program. Let's begin with the Vanguard newspaper this morning. We begin with headlines just above the nameplates. Top left corner with a picture of immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. It says court orders unconditional release of Emefiele. Tax-seeking insurgents kill 40 in Yobe attacks. That story came through yesterday. Tinubu seeks fair, transparent poll in Bayelsa, Kogi, Imo. Tinubu seeks fair, transparent poll in Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi. And above that, it reads, foreign portfolio investments down 31.9% to 108.9 billion naira. FCT enough for me. I'm not interested in running rivers. That's Wike there talking. Ajero in critical condition may be flown abroad. That's according to the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC. Ajero politicizing labor activities in Imo. Uzodimma, the governor of Imo State, they're also talking. It's a potpourri of issues. I mean, quite a complicated situation you're having between the Nigeria Labour Congress and Imo State governments here. Recall that a couple of days ago, the leadership of Labour, of course, led by Comrade Joe Ajero, had briefed the press saying, look, we are going to Imo State, we are going to put up a protest. It is lawful for us to protest as long as demonstration, and that demonstration was scheduled for November, which was a Wednesday. There had already been a court's order prohibiting, stopping labor from going on strike or even embarking on such a protest. But again, like I mentioned, labor insisted that, look, the law guarantees our right to protest as long as it is peaceful, and that was what happened. But now, as they say, the rest is history. We understand that it had been beaten, blue and black, all right? And then, of course, now we hear he's in a critical condition. Of course, pictures and videos flooded the internet the last 2 days, and the conventional media had also done an extensive coverage of these developments. Recall that there's an election up ahead of Imo State, the gubernatorial election, scheduled for 11th of November. And that, again, is an element, it's a strand in the conversation of, between the relations between Labour and the governments. While on the one hand, Labour is saying, look, we've done our best. You can't keep pensioners for 20 months without paying them. You can't decide not to pay pensioners because you say they are ghost pensioners or they are ghost workers. All right, please, you've got to pay them. And the saying, you can't exploit Nigerian workers in Imo State. On the other hand, the Imo State government is saying, look, can we not dialogue over this issue? Can we not have a conversation around this issue? But the question is, what has happened with all the conversations, all the dialogues that they had in the past? In the final analysis, can we sincerely say there has been sincerity of purpose, there has been transparency in the way the government has been dealing with labor? And there's also the question of, has the labor union, in light of the court's order stopping or preventing them from embarking on strike or protests, all right, flouted the law. All right, these are questions that remain to be answered, okay? But there's a big story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper for you this morning, all right? Electricity policy flip-flop threatens $155 million smart meters project. Bids requires high turnover cash flow orders in dollars. Indigenous manufacturers kick petition FG. Interministerial committee swings into action. Report puts installed capacity at 4.5 million. TCN, PMU reopens controversial bid. Experts call for cancellation engagement. All right, but we have something to look at on the right end of the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, shippers cancel crucial to economic diversification, new NSC. Okay, let's flip it for you to the Guardian newspaper this morning. The Guardian newspaper says white elephant game on viable football clubs drain states billions of naira yearly. Okay, it's a big story covering, featuring on pages 4 and 5 of today's issue of the Guardian newspaper. Reps summon CBN discos over $31 million, $18.2 billion naira loans for electricity projects. WHO ranks Nigeria highest out-of-pocket expenditure nation in West Africa. Reps the least $5 billion naira yachts praise students' loan, raise students' loan to $10 billion naira as Senate okays Tinubu's $2.17 trillion naira budget. PDP 2 cents over imported for trucks. Targets. And as always, Guardian has infographics on the big story here on the front page of today's issue of the paper. Club expenses. So you have 20 clubs there. You have 230 million to 250 million naira per season spent per state, and then you have new FIFA rules make it compulsory for a club to register 40 players in a season. So it's quite an eye-opener, and I'm sure it will make a brilliant read for you on the Guardian front page this morning. Okay, time to take a look at this day newspaper now. Okay, above the nameplate, it says, in compliance with PIA, NNPC agrees to supply Dangote refinery 6 million barrels in December. That's next month, apparently. Wabote inaugurates Genesis Group's head office complex, Hospitality Academy in Rivers. CBN moves to restore investor confidence, begins clearance of FX forward backlogs. Senate passes 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary budget is a big story on the front page of today's This Day newspaper, with two riders there. House cancels presidential yachts from fiscal documents, raises student loan to 10 billion naira. FG presidential yacht listed in budget is operational naval boats. Olasipo Olusi assumes office as Bank of Industry MD CEO. The woman who defied the odds is a story there with a picture of Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan, who has just yesterday been inaugurated by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio as Senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District. Of course, time will fail me to talk about the drama that led to yesterday's epoch-making event. But it's instructive to know that she has become the fourth female senator now on the floor of the Red Chamber. She's the first female senator from that district. And then, of course, she has etched her name in history, written her name in gold on the sands of time with the battle she had to fight and the war she just by way of necessity needed to win to get to make this history. And people say she has become inspiration for young women, especially those who want to break new grounds, shatter the so-called glass ceiling in their respective endeavors, particularly in the space of politics and social impact. Okay, let's take a look at Daily Trust this morning. Quite a number of stories, headlines on the front page of Daily Trust. Above, just beneath the nameplates, 3 headlines. CSOs raise dusts over 18 billion naira INEC supplementary budget. Relief as CBN begins clearing $7 billion FX obligations. Next visit, we have every right to invite our Muslim brothers. Sultan replies critics. Okay, manufacturers groan as diesel price hits 1,300 litre. It's hitting us hard. Truckers, factories may shut down. Experts, inflation may get worse. Large withdrawals causing cash scarcity in some locations. CBN trailer crushes 8 to death in Abuja. Global TV actually did bring you that story yesterday, and it was featured on our AM News again today. Trailer crushes 8 to death in Abuja. That was a very accident around Papi Junction here in Nigeria's capital. Hezbollah, Israel exchange fire as violence spikes at Lebanese border. Reps reject 5 billion naira presidential yachts, pass supplementary budgets. Okay. And then we have to look at the Punch for you, penultimate paper on the show this morning. Above the nameplates, a headline with a picture of CBN Governor Olayemi Kadoso. Naira gains as CBN pays banks $6.7 billion forex. Labour tackles Uzodinma, Governor says Ajero meddling. NNPCL allocates 6 million barrels to Dangote refinery. We understand that will happen in December. Reps reallocate 5 billion naira yacht votes. Navy clears Tinubu, with headlines there saying Navy, not Tinubu, requested yachts for operations. Presidency naval spokesman. Senate okays 17.5 billion naira yacht air fleet. Reps approve 546 billion naira defense budget. Yaba overpass. Others will stop train vehicular crashes. Sanwo-Olu, Navy busts crude theft on Lagos vandalized pipeline. Lagos man drowns during church beach hangouts. Tinubu demands fairness in Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi polls. Of course, it goes without saying. Elections have got to be credible, transparent, fair, and free of rancor, regardless of whose interests needs to be protected. Tinubu demands free, fair Guba polls in Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa. Now we're looking at the Nigerian Tribune for you. Okay, the Nigerian Tribune has quite a number of headlines, by the way. But then there's a picture of the immediate past governor of the CBN with the headline here saying court orders unconditional release of Emefiele from EFCC detention. Directs Kano government to pay 30 billion naira within 7 days. All right, 30 billion naira within 7 days. Nigerian Tribune is what we're looking at. 2023 supplementary budget. Reps transfer 5 billion naira for yachts to students alone as NAS approves 2.17 trillion naira budget. With 3 riders there, 210 billion for 35,000 wage award for federal workers. Defense gets 546.2 billion naira, 515 billion naira for service-wide votes. Tinubu didn't ask for presidential yachts. Presidency. It may begin disbursement of foreign airlines trapped funds. High volume withdrawals causing scarcity of naira notes in some CBN. Shows of sufficient stock. Dangote speaks on allegation of economic sabotage. That story is on page 14 of the Nigerian Tribune today. All right. Test running of red line to commence December. Sanwo-Olu. Reps move to recover over $30 billion revenue from merger of multinational oil firms. As it turns out, that's all we're getting to bring your way this morning with regards to newspaper headlines. But then we have two conversations in front of us, and we want to look at those with our guests for you this morning. But that will be right after this short break. Do stay with us.
A cross-section of Nigerians has reacted to the announcement by the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Prince Shaibu Audu, assuring of the federal government's commitment to complete the Ajaokuta steel construction project, which is said to have the potential of creating 500,000 jobs for Nigerians. Nigerians have aired their views concerning the issue of the ongoing Ajaokuta steel construction project. For a steel complex that has been comatose for decades, many Nigerians are full of expectations, and it serves as a test of government's resolve. However, Edward, for instance, sparing.
We've heard so much about Ajaokuta steel, and it's like at a point we're beginning to lose hope. But because hope is the essence of life, we believe that this government, or whatever successive government, should do something about it, but Nigeria needs it. And Nigeria is more important than anybody. So we are believing that because of humanity, we need it. We can't continue to be stagnant. We need to move forward.
Robert, on the other hand, expresses optimism and advises Nigerians to keep hope alive while constantly believing in and supporting the government.
The time has come for us to actually believe in the words of Mr. President. You understand, he's a pragmatic person. He's focused, and he has direction. And he has armed himself with technocrats. And I believe so much in the words of the Honorable Minister, who is a representative of the President of the Republic of Nigeria. And also, you have a permanent secretary, you understand, in that ministry that is a technocrat. And I believe that they will swing into action very soon.
For Wasil Awar, a civil servant, more commitment to the Ajaokuta steel complex is expected of the government, considering the need to industrialize Nigeria in order to encourage local production.
We have the natural deposit of this steel in Nigeria, so it cannot just be wasted, it cannot be moribund. If the other subsequent previous administration have been coming, they are making lips emphasis on it. But I think he is more pragmatic on it, as he laid emphasis on it now. But you have to realize that the Ajaokuta steel is not going to start from embryo. It has gotten to a stage before it was moribund. So now what he's going to do now is to resuscitate it. So by resuscitating it, all the manpower needed, the capacity and capability needed, he knows them. Just to ask them to come back. And once it is top on his agenda, so if it's top of on his agenda, he's going to lay emphasis on it, and the thing will be prosecuted.
Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.